2 brand new civilizations from the Caucasus, a rework of an OG civ from the Age of Kings, and a plethora of balance changes. Welcome to Age of Noob everyone, and to the preview of the upcoming MountainRoyals DLC for Age of Empires 2. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, so this preview will serve as a summary of what to expect, but I will publish standalone videos on civilization reviews, new units, and new buildings that come with the DLC. With that said, let's begin with the general balance changes first. Both Elite and Imperial Skirmishers bonus attack versus Spearman armor class is increased from 3 to 4, and the Genitour bonus against the same armor class from 2 to 3. The Battle Elephant's base movement speed is also slightly increased from 0.85 to 0.88. I doubt the latter change will make much of a difference, but the Skirmisher change should be felt mostly in the mid to late game when trash spams slowly kick in. The monks have been perhaps the most controversial unit in AoE2 as of late, and the devs are nerfing them yet again with some behavioral changes. This mostly impacts monks at higher levels as they lose 2 important mechanics. The first is that, quote-unquote, charging a conversion is no longer possible. Most of you should know that monks require some time to convert units, and there is some RNG involved in how quickly you can convert an enemy unit. That said, if, say, an enemy knight runs away without being converted, you could switch over to another unit within range to almost instantly convert it instead, as the conversion time carries over to whatever unit the monk switches to. This was especially problematic when Redemption was researched and monks charged their conversions against a building. Since buildings take a very long time to convert, switching over to an actual unit instantly converted it. Thankfully, abusing this mechanic will no longer be possible with the new DLC. The second annoying monk mechanic that players had to deal with was the villager task disruption. Villagers always try to run away when being converted as a default behavior, but this was an issue when players were trying to force down an important structure such as a town center or especially a castle. Since monks instantly forced the villagers to move back, monk players could delay the construction of the castle considerably by spam clicking the villagers. The default behavior is now changed to require a 1-second delay to the task disruption, so monks will no longer be able to buy meaningful time against the construction of an enemy structure. Both of these changes are fantastic in my opinion and should make playing against monks less frustrating, though I still feel that more changes will inevitably hit the monks down the line. Okay, with the general changes out of the way, let's now take a look at the civ-specific changes. Starting off with the Celts, they now have access to the Ring Archer armor upgrade from the blacksmith. The Celts are notorious for having one of the worst archery ranges in the game, as they lacked all of the core technologies for their ranged units. Their cav archers and crossbows are still laughable, and they still lack bracer and thumb ring on their skirmishers. But since the Ring Archer armor upgrade is critical against arbalests for skirmishers, we just may see them being situationally viable in very niche scenarios moving forward. The Japanese get a very interesting change as they now get a bonus +2 attack versus archers on their cavalry archers. This change should make them more versatile against many archer civilizations. The Magyar Hussar gets a significant rework. Its original cost is vastly altered from 80 food and 10 gold to 25 food and 45 gold, but it now gets an additional 5 HP, up from 70 to 75, as well as a 2-second reduction in training time down to 14 seconds. That said, the Curvinian army technology also technically changed, but will have the same final effect nevertheless. This tech now replaces the gold cost of food, which ultimately still results to the previous 80 food it used to cost. I would characterize this as a buff overall, but massing your Magyar Hussars will be slightly delayed now that you'll likely want to research Curvinian army first before training them. The Poles lose access to guilds, which I think is a nice change overall. The Folwark is an amazing food machine late game that makes selling food at bottomed out prices much more viable than other civilizations, so great thinking by the devs on this change. The Romans get a nerf on their unique unit, the Centurions. Their aura on both the regular and elite versions are now down to a flat 20% faster attack speed. Still a powerful buff, but should sting a bit less to play against moving forward. The Saracens civ bonus of camel units receiving +10 HP is changed to +25% HP instead. This has a few implications. For the heavy camel rider, this is an early game buff, as camel riders now start with 125 HP instead of the 110 like before. However, this change has no impact when fully upgraded, as you max out at 170 HP in the end anyway. You might ask how that's even possible, but more on that later. The Mamluk gets a base HP change as well, from the previous 65 and 80 to 80 and 90 respectively. After the Civ bonus is factored in though, Mamluks now start with a whopping 100 HP instead of the previous 75. That said, the fully upgraded Elite Mamluk maxes out at 133 HP instead of the previous 130, so again, there's practically no change when fully upgraded. All that said, the Saracens bonus rework is overall a very strong buff. This is because you no longer have to construct a castle and spend 400 food and 400 gold on zealotry to get to the high HPs on your camel riders, so eliminating this humongous resource and time cost is a big tempo change for the Saracens, not to mention that you start off with a higher HP anyway. I'm also interested in seeing if this will make the Mamluks more viable early on, as they were already not too weak to begin with. You may have already guessed that you no longer can research zealotry, as that would be broken. Instead, it will now be replaced with Bimaristan instead, which is a word for hospital in the historic Islamic world. Costing 300 wood and 200 gold in the Castle Age, monks automatically heal multiple units within a 5-tile range at 75 HP per minute. Now, if you scoffed at this thinking it's an okay technology, I wouldn't blame you, but here's the catch. The word automatically in the tooltip is not that descriptive. This is because monks become a walking ambulance without the need to stop and heal. In other words, you can heal units within a 5-tile radius while also converting an enemy unit. Again, the monk doesn't have to be stationary, so you can march your army together towards the enemy while healing your units. And yes, if the monk is stationary and begins healing a unit individually, then the healing effect stacks and you will heal the entire group even faster. In other words, while new technologies are usually tough to judge early, I feel like Bimaristan will be a very strong technology and make the Saracens pretty scary in the Castle Age when coupled with their early camel HP buff. The Slavs get some love back as their previously nerfed farming bonus is reverted and it's now back to 15%. Easily one of the better civ bonuses out there, this buff will be felt for the Slav players for sure. And finally, the long-promised Persians Rework is here, so strap in as we explore these changes. Let's begin with the civilization bonuses first. The Persians TC and Dock bonus remains the same, with the exception of adding back the 5% in the Dark Age. This will likely bring back the Persians as a top-tier nomad civ. That said, on top of that, they do get 2 new bonuses. The first is that they get Parthian tactics 1 age early in the Castle Age, and they can also build the Caravanserai that used to be unique to the Hindustanis in the Imperial Age as well. Apart from the aforementioned buffs, the fan-favorite War Elephants get some love as well. They now do triple the damage to buildings, their movement speed is increased from 0.6 to 0.8, which means that they now get the Imperial Age Mahout's unique technology effect for free. And finally, the elite upgrade cost is substantially reduced from 1600 food and 1200 gold to 1350 food and 800 gold. Look, War Elephants still have the same weaknesses that do not make them viable in most situations, but these buffs will definitely make them a more interestingly viable choice in niche encounters. The buffs for the Persians don't end here. As you may have guessed, Mahouts is now replaced with citadels. This new Imperial Age unique technology now allows castles to receive 25% less bonus damage and replaces their arrows with bullets which deal +4 attack, +3 versus infantry, and +3 versus rams. The bonus damage mitigation is huge, as Persians now have one of the toughest fully upgraded castles in the late game to bring down. The bullets require more testing on my end to give a proper opinion, but a Persian castle on a hill could very well be as menacing, if not more so, than a Byzantine one in the late game. Do not underestimate them. There's one final change to talk about, and that's the brand new unique unit for the Persians, the Savar. I'm probably biased, but the Savar is one of the coolest looking units they've designed so far in my opinion. The changes on paper are straightforward, but there are some implications. The Savar, compared to the fully upgraded Paladin, has 15 less HP, but boasts an additional melee and pierce armor for a total of 6 and 8 respectively. This means that the Savar can barely beat a fully upgraded generic Paladin one-on-one. Perhaps most importantly though, the Savar upgrade only costs 1000 food and 600 gold compared to the 1300 food and 750 gold for the Paladin, which is a massive tempo difference. Although these two units are very similar, there's still some nuance to explore, so be sure to check back on my standalone video on the Savars coming soon. Well, that was the last of the changes to the civs we have in the game so far, so let's talk about the 2 new civilizations, the Armenians and the Georgians. I'm almost done with the Armenian civilization review, and the Georgians review will come next very soon, so be sure to subscribe to Age of Noob to not miss out on the in-depth reviews for these brand new civs from the Caucasus. To give a quick summary to you folks though, they both have access to a new unit that acts as a resource drop-off point, and it's the Mule Cart. As usual, a dedicated video on this unit is also coming soon. They also both have a monastery variant called the Fortified Church, and it has some interesting quirks that allows garrisoning of villagers, relics, and religious units. Both have strong economies and boast quite powerful unique units, so be sure to circle back on the civ reviews coming later this week. Apart from those, we also get 3 new campaigns, one for each of the new civs, as well as the reworked Persians. The devs didn't provide us with early access on these, so we'll explore the campaigns together once the DLC is launched. Well, that wraps up my summary of the upcoming MountainRoyals DLC coming to Age of Empires 2 at the end of this month. A ton of content is on the way to analyze all of these new civs, units, and buildings, so be sure to subscribe to Age of Noob to not miss out. I will also publish some AoE4 news this week for sure, so AoE4 players can rest assured that the Sultan's Ascent DLC news will continue this week. If you enjoyed my coverage of the new DLCs for both games so far, then please consider joining Age of Noob as a member to support me further. Thank you. As always, thanks for watching everyone, tune back in for a plethora of AoE content coming your way, and see you all in the next one.